Well, here we are in the final week of discussing audiobook publishing. We've gone over so many platforms before, but let's go ahead and wrap up this whole series with kind of a really good bookend where I'm going to share some alternatives, some places that isn't just specifically catering to audiobook publishing, because, we talked about Audiobook Creation Exchange, we talked about Audiobooks Unleashed, all those pretty much audiobook specific. Now let's look at some that aren't audiobook specific, but something worth considering in today's podcast. So make sure that you stay tuned. Stay up to date in the world of self-publishing when you subscribe to my email newsletter. I curate and distill all the information you need to know into 1 to 2 email broadcasts per week so you can focus more on your business and less on having to find out the latest news in self-publishing. Visit dalelinks.com/sign up to subscribe today. You won't regret it. Your email's safe with me as well. And for some reason you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. But I think you're going to like it because I have over 3,000 authors right now that continue to open and enjoy these emails. So far, what we have covered with audiobook publishing, we've discussed Audiobook Creation Exchange, obviously, Findaway Voices by Spotify, Authors Republic, Audiobooks Unleashed, and Lantern Audio. Now, if you want to get those insights for those previous episodes, just go ahead and dig in my backlog of podcasts. You'll be able to find out more details about them. I want to be talking about them today because we're going to look into the ACX alternatives, ones that aren't specifically audiobook publishers per se. Now, side note, most platforms accept audiobooks based on the same specs as ACX, or sometimes to a lesser degree with a little flexibility. Now, some platforms will accept AI voice narration. I'll note those options as we kind of go along. Let's start it out here with Kobo Writing Life. Kobo Writing Life actually distributes ebooks and audiobooks of all things. And I've yet to really tap into them, but I anticipate in my future launches, I'm going to really lean into Kobo Writing Life a lot more. They have distribution to, you ready for this? I thought it was just Kobo, but apparently it's Kobo.com, Booktopia in Australia, Libreria Porrua. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and mess that up, even though I had 4 years of Spanish. That's in Mexico, Gandhi in Mexico, La Feltrinelli, which is in Italy, Mondadori, NFNAC in France, Bol, B-O-L, in the Netherlands and Belgium, and then Overdrive as well. So I knew about Kobo and I knew about Overdrive. Now, Overdrive's got the library distribution, meaning you can get your audiobooks into libraries. Now, some factors, such as language, can limit some of those options for obvious reasons. I don't think any of my audiobooks is going to make it into the ones that I couldn't even pronounce. It's not for the reason that I can't pronounce it, but probably because they don't accept it. But at any rate, the royalties, it's pretty interesting that you can set your own price, unlike ACX. And you're going to find that's the common denominator. Anywhere outside of ACX, you could set your own price. In fact, I'm just not going to even say it again for the rest of this podcast because you can set your own price in pretty much all these. You get 45% royalties for audiobooks with a list price greater than or equal to $2.99. So 45%, not bad. It's about 5% more than what you're going to be getting with an exclusive deal with ACX. Will you get the same reach in the audience, as you would with Audible? Probably not, but I wouldn't rule them out just yet. Now, you get a lower royalty at 35% if you list your audiobook lower than $2.99. So, lesson is, don't price below $2.99. Otherwise, you lose out in 10%. Now, there are special rules, though, where you get 0% royalty if, for some reason, someone gets a free trial token. That's through Kobo. Or if you get a paid token, that is 32%. Now, the really cool thing is Kobo Plus. You can actually enroll your audiobook in Kobo Plus program where you get 60% of the earnings there. Now, Kobo Plus is very similar to Kindle Unlimited, except they don't just honor ebooks, they do audiobooks as well. But they're not paying you per page read, they're paying you by the time listened. And what they do is they have the global subscription pool of people in the Kobo Plus program, and then they evenly divvy it out according to what the minutes are listened throughout the month or read throughout the month, because obviously they're throwing in audiobooks and print or ebooks all together to figure out what that's going to be. Now, I have yet to really test it out, and I've yet to see what the paydays are like, but I'm pretty optimistic. But can't you publish audiobooks to Kobo through other methods? Yeah, you can, because you remember I talked about them through Findaway Voices before in some of the other platforms. You can't do it through ACX though, because ACX only does Audible, Amazon, and Apple. But here's the thing though. You lose control of some metadata, promotional opportunities, and some royalties that you would otherwise get through Kobo Writing Life. Yeah, Kobo is real big about the promotions. And by the way, if you do have an account with Kobo Writing Life and you don't have the promotional tab yet, reach out to their support and they'll open that up for you. You have to ask for it. You would think they'd put it on automatically, but it is what it is. Also, in their words, if your audiobook is already in the Kobo store under a distributor, please make sure to remove it from the distributor before adding it to the Kobo Writing Life in order to prevent duplicates in our store. So if you are distributing it somewhere else, like Findaway Voices, you'll have to deselect that if you want to go direct with Kobo Writing Life. Next option is going to be the Google Play Books Partner Center. Now, I've talked about them through the ebooks. They distribute ebooks and they also do audiobooks. And this is really been opening up lately. This program is currently limited to select publishers in Australia, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and United States. This is good for any publications that you've done on your own. So if you've recorded your own audiobook, great. They also offer auto-narrated audiobooks. Now, some people like it, some people dislike it. And if you're looking at AI voices and you're going, I don't like that, I don't want to bother with it, you probably don't want to bother with it. But here's the funny thing is if you leverage their auto-narrated option, they actually encourage you to use the files elsewhere. They're like, yeah, go ahead, take it, use it somewhere else. We don't care. They're just happy to get your audiobook distributed. So if you've been on the fence and you want to look into any kind of AI voice narration, this is definitely the platform for you. They have distribution to over 20 regions. So it doesn't quite reach the 70 plus that the ebooks do, but it is something. And the royalty is 52%. Now, I had to go into the agreement to figure out that. It was really hard to track down. I couldn't find anywhere else that they would just concrete say 52%. So I might be wrong. I don't know. It says it inside the agreement for 52%. So hopefully I'm going to take them at face value on something like that. Next option is going to be StreetLib. Now I talked about StreetLib. They actually distribute ebooks, print books, and audiobooks. And I talked about them previously, so a little bit of this is going to be a rehash, so you can always go back and review that episode if you want to. They distribute to Google Play Books. Funny, I was just talking about them. Kobo, again. MLOL, Uscribe, Scribd, Overdrive, Tocalibros, Box, Scoob, StreetLib Store, Il Narratore, Storytel, Ubook, Biblioteca, and BookBeat. Now, the royalty is interesting, okay? This varies based on the avenue that you select. Now, each of those avenues range between 20 to 50% royalty. However, since StreetLib acts as a middleman, they're going to take their cut. So for most accounts that you're getting today, the free account, you get 70% of net profits. So that means you get 70% of that 20 to 50% from each one of those avenues. StreetLib takes a 30% cut. Now, recently, they actually rolled out a new subscription model, and I really haven't explored it just yet, but my understanding is you get an 80-20 split as opposed to 70-30 split, which has me scratching my head because a platform like PublishDrive, when you subscribe, you get 100% of net profits. Whereas with StreetLib, they're like, hey, we're going to give you 10% more since you're giving us money. I'm not a fan of that, but I need to probably explore it just a little bit more. Big shout out to the team over there, Julie Trellstad. She's just a gem over at StreetLib. Love her. And stay tuned because I actually will be having an exclusive interview with Julie at StreetLib as part of the Future of Self-Publishing chat that I have for the AuthorTube Writing Conference. More details about AuthorTube Writing Conference at authortubewritingconference.com. Next avenue to consider, PublishDrive. Okay, we already mentioned PublishDrive. Their distribution goes to Apple Audiobooks, Audible, Google Play Audio, Kobo Audio, Overdrive Audio, BookMate Audio, CNPE Reading Audio, Findaway, and it's not all of Find a Way. Gardner's Audio, Voxa Audio, Lazy Joy Audio, Storytel Audio, Impic Group Audio, and the most recent edition, We Hear. Although We Hear has an absurdly low royalty percentage at 20. Now, their royalties vary between 20 to 60%, with most averaging around 50%. Now, there is an asterisk next to the PublishDrive. As I'd mentioned before, there is a monthly subscription in order to distribute through them. And you can't just get their basic plan to get audiobook distribution. You have to get Standard Plus or Pro. They're higher plans. Now, this is going to include, if you want to have 6 books, it's $20.99 per month. For up to 18 books, it's $41.99. And for up to 48 books, it's $83.99. Now, it should be noted, they do have a free trial option for you to go ahead and take advantage of. Now, listen, PublishDrive isn't for everyone. I totally get there's some people like, why would I want to pay a subscription fee? Well, if you get a substantial enough following, going to some other aggregate publishers, I'm just going to throw an aggregate publisher out there like StreetLib. StreetLib's going to pull a percentage of your earnings. Whereas with PublishDrive, they're just like, pay us our monthly subscription. We don't care what you make. So you can make thousands through them and not get nickeled and dimed to death. So, I mean, if you're doing, say, for instance, sales through something like StreetLib, sorry, I'm not trying to throw StreetLib under the bus. You do $1,000 in sales, they're going to be taking $300 of that net profit there, or excuse me, $100,000 in net profits. You're going to end up getting $700 from that, if that makes sense. So in any event, with PublishDrive, they don't. You just get all of the net profits. So that's why it's not for everybody. I know new authors especially, it probably makes no sense. But if you already have an established following, or you're considering and pivoting to something where you're like, I don't want them taking any more percentages, PublishDrive's the way to go. Now, speaking of this similar model here is going to be BookBaby. Now, BookBaby, I think a lot of people look at BookBaby as well, and they go, oh my gosh, it's a scam. You got to pay to distribute and publish your books. Yeah, you do. This is a done-for-you service site, and they are kind of like PublishDrive, but on steroids. You're going to end up paying a bunch of money up front in order to get distribution. With BookBaby and audiobook distribution, it's $99 up front for distribution. That's it. But it's only one avenue. It goes to the BookBaby bookshop. So you're getting 75% royalty for every sale that's made through there. I'm kind of surprised it's not anywhere else, considering that they reach a lot of different avenues for ebooks and print books. So I'm kind of confused why they haven't expanded, but might be because they just can't support something like that. I don't know. So the nice thing is, if you're looking to get yourself something a little bit more like a direct sales option, more about that later here, 75%, that's not bad. So you could just literally just set up your own BookBaby bookstore and send traffic over towards that direction and get probably the best royalty you're going to get of any platform. Again, $99 up front. So it's just something to kind of think of. But yeah, and if you are looking at getting your audiobooks done through them, then you'll pay a substantial more ahead. Now, what they did highlight was you get paid weekly, you can create coupons, and you also collect email addresses of buyers. I like that. Now, I've got 2 more options that are in beta right now, meaning that you may or may not be able to get access to them. We're going to start out with Kindle Direct Publishing. I've talked about it before already. They have the virtual voice narration in beta only. Now, if you want to get yourself into the get an invite to the beta program, you will need to visit the link inside the show notes here today. And at the very bottom of the community post, you'll see click on that, and you'll need to put notifications on for that. Now, I got invited to it, and I've yet to really play around with it per se. I've got to see the user interface, but just as a heads up, if you do get into the beta invite, all right, there is a non-disclosure agreement as part of that. So do not share anything. So I can't really share much with you about it. I can say that it's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of virtual voice narration, but I do understand that it is a good cost-effective way to distribute your audiobooks. And also there are some listeners out there that don't mind it per se. Now you get 40% for all those sales. Not bad for not doing any production. You can price between $3.99 and $14.99. Not a big fan of that limitation. However, that is a stark contrast to their sister company of ACX, where they're like, we'll price it according to your length and shut up. I don't know that they say shut up, but you get the idea. But all right, I'm glad that they're allowing us to price our books. Now, it is limited to Audible, but if you have a KDP Select Enrolled ebook that gets virtual voice narrated, that's what I'm looking for here, then it will put your audiobook over into the Audible Plus program, where you'll be able to get additional revenue. Now, according to some online sources that I had shared over the past few weeks, they have already 40,000 of these virtual voice audiobooks on the Audible platform. Really crazy, right? Now, my verdict, again, it's okay so far. Again, just giving you a warning, if you do get into the beta program, you have already agreed to the non-disclosure agreement, meaning that you can't be sharing screenshots, you can't be sharing any of this stuff. It is completely behind closed doors. Now, are they going to do anything to you if you violate that agreement? I don't know. But I've seen some YouTubers out there that are being very stupid about sharing their stuff, and they're not really paying attention. Trust me, I talked to KDP team, and I even said, hey, can I do a video about this? And they're like, no, you signed an NDA, dude. And I'm like, okay, we're good to go. And speaking of another option that's available in beta is BookFunnel. Now, BookFunnel, a lot of people might be recognizing for doing ARCs or advanced reader copy teams, where you're building through that, and they have a variety of other features. They do have audiobook distribution in beta currently. Now, I haven't explored this option quite yet, but what they have shared so far is on the $10 per month program, this plan should be perfect for individual authors with 1 to 3 pen names, an ARC team, some free audiobook promotions, and an audiobook store. 90% of our audiobook beta authors will fit comfortably in this plan. Not bad. $10 per month. It's a little bit better than what we're getting with PublishDrive, right? Then there's the $25 per month. This is higher volume plan. Should cover every individual author who is delivering audiobooks to their ARC team, offering freebies to subscribers and driving a lot of traffic to their audiobook store. And then lastly, $50 per month. This high volume plan is for publishers and authors with multiple pen names and very active audio promotions and online sales. So there are a lot of options that I've spit at you, and for good reason. There has been a lot of details on these previous options, but I want you to kind of know that you're not just limited to audiobook creation exchange. There are so many more options out there. And if ACX is not paying you your value, what you value your content, you might want to look into some of these alternatives. I know that I am. Hey, still haven't subscribed to my email newsletter for self-publishers? Then maybe I can entice you with my bestseller book launch checklist, a foolproof step-by-step system to launching a best-selling book every time. Get my checklist when you subscribe to my email newsletter today at dalelinks.com/checklist. Here are my final thoughts. Explore your options, folks. That's the beauty of self-publishing. And don't just let a bunch of hype beasts tell you that, oh, it's ACX or bust. You have to go with ACX. No, you don't have to go with ACX. You don't have to go with Findaway Voices by Spotify. You don't have to go with Authors Republic. You can just go direct if you want to. I've given you so many options. And one of the things that I would love to see you do is at least break ground with audiobook publishing. I see it. I totally get it. There are a lot of authors out there that are very reluctant to break ground in audiobooks, be it that they don't want to mess around with AI narration. I totally get it. Or they can't afford a narrator. You need to at least consider some of these options, be it virtual voice, where you can at least earn some money and get that money and invest it into a human narrator, or find other alternatives. But either way, there are so many things. Now, I like going wide. I like to get my audiobooks as far as it can go. It does require some extra work. Obviously, I'm not just going to ACX, so it's hitting many other platforms. I also like better royalties, so that's why I choose to go wide. I don't like ACX's limitation of like, hey, it's either 40% for exclusive. Come again? You said 40% to remain exclusive to you? Why don't we talk about doubling that number, and then I'll talk about it being exclusive. And then for non-exclusive, it's 25%. It was almost like they just decided they were just going to slap you across your face. I don't know about you. I don't like that slap. I like better royalties. So that's why I choose to go wide. I like more control too, and that's why I go wide. Now, Should you go wide with your audiobooks too? It's entirely up to you. But now, you got choices beyond the same old tired ACX or Findaway Voices by Spotify. Boy, this has been a whirlwind of about a month and a half to 2 months of us talking about audiobook publishing. If you happen to miss any of the previous portions, I just recommend you go take a browse through my backlog of content with podcasts, and you'll be able to get some more information about them. Starting this next weekend, we'll be talking about some tools and services that are available to self-publishers. And one of the areas I want to talk about is going to be direct sales platforms. And 2 of them that I've used before and continue to use, Gumroad versus PayHip. Which one's the best direct sales platform for authors in 2024? You're going to find out in next week's broadcast. Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I appreciate you all tuning in.